Harivilas. Well, we should all desire to become great devotees. It's a lot easier than going to school, learning to be a great sense gratifier. That's what they teach you in school, to satisfy your senses. Right? But here, it teaches you to become a great devotee. So that's why it says, here the word Achyuta Priya is very significant. Dhruva Maharaj's character and reputation are great because he's very dear to Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord are pleasing to hear, hearing about his devotees who are very dear to the Supreme Person is also pleasing and potent. If one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaja by hearing and reading this chapter, I don't know which one, Canto 4, Chapter 12, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Okay, I let everybody hear the secret of real success. It is, you read this chapter, Canto 4, Chapter 12. There are, 50 some verses, 52 verses. And it says here that by hearing, if one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaj, by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is our takeaway for today. That's poetry, a takeaway for today. Are there any questions? Any questions? So you have to take this, very seriously. If one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaja by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Well, I gotta celebrate this one second. Hare Krishna. Gotta have some kombucha to celebrate.
What's significant is that most of education, but also any books that we read outside, at best they try to make you a king. That's the highest that one can become. But here, that it's all about becoming a pure devotee. Achieving that.
And there are a lot of kings in the world. Most of them are nonsense. Well, all of them are nonsense. To become a pure devotee, now that's something special. Prabhupada was a pure devotee. Look what he could do. Right? That should be our real purpose in life, to become a pure devotee.
So Dhruva Maharaj's case is special because he's king and devotee together.
Yeah, that's right. But the main thing is, he's very dear to Achyuta, meaning Krishna. That's the real thing that made him special.
So Maharaj,
yeah.
If you want kids who might not know the full history, they just read this chapter When they understand it enough, Maharaj, should they read some chapters before also, or just
I didn't understand what you said.
if they just read this chapter,
Yes, yeah, you get everything.
everything. So even though they don't understand the full context, because this chapter is
Yeah,
about Guru Maharaj going back to Godhead. So
yeah.
there's no previous story. If you don't read other chapters, should they read like 3 or 4 chapters or just this chapter? And the essence is
Whole
here.
narration of Dhruva. Whole narration of Dhruva.
Yeah, there's some context also given.
Yeah, whole
Oh,
narration.
it's given here already.
Mm.
So it says, if one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaja by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. These are all secrets, but secrets that you can only find in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita both, these are the greatest literatures in the whole history of the world. And look what you can achieve by reading these two scriptures. You can attain the highest perfection of life in any way you desire. Most importantly, you get the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Now, what's good about this? This is not only good for boys, it's good for everyone. Boys, girls, young boys and girls, old boys and girls, everybody can attain the supernatural powers to do good simply by what? It says, if one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaj, by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most important, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Wow. We're very fortunate to hear this. Okay, any questions?
Here the word is the chance. This second last line.
Yeah.
It means the person will get a chance. Like it's not becoming devotee just by reading, but he will understand and he get an opportunity. But it's up to again person like to use that opportunity or.
Well, you have to hear also. You have to hear about devotees who are very dear to the Supreme Person. If one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaj by hearing, so that means you're hearing someone else who is uh, bona fide devotee, and he is speaking, right? And also reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection. So why does it say? Why doesn't it say simply by reading this chapter? No, we should also hear from a bona fide devotee, because then you can ask questions also. That's very important. We should not simply read. We should also hear from bona fide devotees. So let's see what this says again. Make sure we got this right. As the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord are pleasing to hear, hearing about these devotees who are very dear to the Supreme Person is also pleasing and potent. If one simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaj by hearing and reading this chapter. So you have to hear it spoken by a genuine devotee, and also reading this chapter. One can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he or anyone desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. That is our takeaway today. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. Yes?
It's 7:45.
Are we over time?
We can do one more.
We can do till late.
47?
7:45 right now.
Yeah.
Our scheduled time is 7:30, but we can keep it. It's a weekend.
Okay, we'll just do one more. Text 47. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. And for the thoughtful men who want adoration, here is the proper means. Well, when it says thoughtful men, that includes women also. It's not just men, it also includes women. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the material world, everyone is after profit, respectability, and reputation. Profit, respectability, and reputation. Everyone wants the supreme exalted position. And everyone wants to hear about the great qualities of exalted persons. All ambitions which are desirable for great persons can be fulfilled simply by reading and understanding the narration of Dhruva Maharaj's activities. Well, now when you go to school tomorrow or the next day, you can tell your friends, hey man, you want to be the greatest person in the world. I just found out the secrets. Of course, they won't believe you. They'll think you've gone crazy. They'll say, and what are you smoking? Okay, so anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaja acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, meaning power, or influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. And for thoughtful men who want adoration, here is the proper means. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In the material world, everyone is after profit, respectability, and reputation. Everyone wants the supreme exalted position. And everyone wants to hear about the great qualities of exalted persons. All ambitions which are desirable for great persons can be fulfilled simply by reading and understanding the narration of Dhruva Maharaj's activities. You notice it doesn't say that all ambitions which are desirable for great persons can be fulfilled simply by reading and understanding the narration of Elon Musk. No, it doesn't say that. Well, he's not a devotee. He's just a nonsense person, you know. And he's greedy and so forth. No, you have to hear about the narration of Dhruva Maharaj's activities. Now you're talking. Yeah.
I had a question, but comment on it. Like when I was younger, a lot of my aunts used to tell them about Guru Maharaj or even
Your family members? Wow, they used to talk about Dhruva Maharaj.
My dad's sister, she used to read all of these. So she used to tell us stories about from Bhagavatam.
Oh, nice.
But what I'm trying to say, if she would tell, maybe I didn't understand it completely. Mostly the narrative is Dhruva Maharaj, he even when he was very young, like 5, he went to the forest, he did tapasya for the Lord, and Lord was very happy for him and he gave him his own planet.
Right.
So that's the narrative people tell. That's good to hear, but you don't understand all the real things that happen.
Yeah.
It is shown more as like you can be really great by doing tapasya. But his character is like really complete when you read all of this.
Well, that's why you shouldn't read just the verses. You should read the purports also. There are a lot of people, they don't read purports, they only read the verses. But when you have the purport with Srila Prabhupada's explanation, now you get the real, let's say, understanding. Right? Just reading verses, you can get, you'll speculate and probably make a lot of mistakes, develop, mistaken concepts. But if you read the verse and the purport, then it protects you from going off into tangents, and speculating. So I think I've told you this before, but one of my kids organized a group of other kids in school that had some interest in the Krishna consciousness. And they would sit down and read something from Bhagavad Gita. And then they would go around and everyone would get a chance to say what they thought was what the meaning of the words that they read. So one person says, "Oh, I think it's like this or that," and then another person, "No, I think it's like this or that." So they just go around the circle and speculate. So that didn't really go very far, and you don't really get much if you're given a chance to speculate. Therefore, what's the proper way to read? Well, to hear from genuine devotees and then to ask questions. It's not that, let's go around now and everyone give their opinion, what you think this means. Well, everybody will give a different opinion, right? So you never really find out what the truth is. The truth is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are all subordinate to the Lord. If you just learn those two things, then now whatever you read, you can understand what's being said. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are all subordinate to him. Now we can read without getting puffed up.
So people don't take that truth, Maharaj. Without that truth, you cannot understand everything.
Yeah.
People will not take that truth and they won't understand it.
Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes you read, the it's possible to make gold out of mercury. So one day the devotees asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada is saying this, can you tell us how to do this? By the way, you have to drink mercury. And through some kind of alchemical process, it turns into gold. But if you drink mercury normally, you'll die. So there's a whole process that has to be done so that you don't die.
You will not get gold, but you will become the gold.
So the devotees asked Prabhupada and said, well, you know how to make mercury into gold. Can you teach us? And Prabhupada says, no, I'm not going to teach you. He said, chanting Hare Krishna, that's the gold. It's not the mercury that turns into gold. It's chanting Hare Krishna that turns you into a devotee. That's the goal. Okay, so I think our time is up now.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go around. Everyone can give their speculation. What do you think this means?
Unfortunately, Maharaj, people think that a lot of people, and even those like Sadhguru, they all say you shouldn't be reading the book to understand what is the truth.
Yeah, just listen to Sadhguru.
Yeah, and they say that you have to experiment yourself and you have to experience it. That's how you realize yourself, the truth, and the self-realization. So that's how most of the people.
Oh, that's the same as, all opinions are right.
Yes. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no right. All opinions are valid. What do you think it means? Oh, I think it's this, That unfortunately is going on too much.
It's 99% of the world.
One person called me up, and he was an Armenian kid. And he said, I want to learn about, what I've read that you're doing. I said, okay. He said, what do I have to do? I said, well, you can come to hear the lectures that I give. He said, no, I want to do it myself. I don't want to go to somebody else. I want to do it on my own. I said, well, you're not going to get very far by doing that. And then he hung up. Yes, everybody wants to do it on their own. But that's not the process of Krishna consciousness. We have to all surrender to Krishna and bona fide spiritual masters. And we can make some progress. Otherwise, just trying to do things by ourselves, then there's no what you would call perimeters. You can just think anything, right? And if you keep repeating it over and over again, then you start to believe yourself that you have the truth. Okay, so we'll stop right there. There's this story of what's the name? Anyway, there was a man who had one disciple, and the disciple would travel with his guru, and his guru would have these visions of things, and he would say, oh, now I'm seeing this. And then the disciple said, what are you seeing? He said, we have to go on top over this mountain so that we can see it. So in that way, the disciple was always following his guru, and his guru was always imagining, seeing things. So the disciple never really got any education. They just kept going from one place to another, because the guru kept saying, well, I just saw this, we'll have to get it this way. So that type of no shastric evidence, simply opinion, that never works. It's not Krishna consciousness. So that's what Sadhguru does. He said, I don't read Shastra. Well, if you say, I don't read Shastra, that means you have to accept whatever he imagines to be the truth. So this is very clever when he says, I don't read Shastra. So that means you should stand up and run away, because all he's going to do is simply massage your false ego. Massage your false ego. You should start a company like that. Massage your false ego. 22 lessons.
Massage your false ego. Maharaj will try. Maharaj is recommending us to start for attracting all
the nonsense people.
But actually, it's true. I think some other place I read that to understand Shastra, one requires a lot of purification of intelligence.
Yeah.
And obviously, means purification of false ego. And to hold these concepts that there is supreme is actually in control. He's the source of everything. He's also in our heart. I mean, all these concepts are all subtle. To hold on to them and act as if they are real requires very highest.
What's the they? What is they?
What is it? No?
Act as they are.
Act like for us
Act
to act
as if they are real. What is they?
these concepts that the Lord is real.
These speculations.
There is no speculation, but because most people, let's say if somebody says that okay, there is Paramatma, like Krishna himself said, Paramatma in everybody's heart. But for people who don't accept Shastra, it's a concept only. Because they cannot see, right? They cannot see Paramatma.
Yeah.
But to hold on to that truth and to follow the process and then to experience it, it requires a lot of purification of consciousness already. Because that's why most people, they want to do what gives them immediate benefit, right? And that's why the Vaishnava culture requires the highest intelligence. And very few people adopt the Vaishnava culture.
Well, Vaishnava culture emphasizes the fact that you become educated little by little. It's not that overnight you learn everything. It takes a long time to become a pure devotee. It might take several or many lifetimes also. But nothing is lost, because whatever you do in Krishna consciousness becomes an eternal asset. So if you only do 1% in this life, it guarantees a human birth in the next life, and you begin from 2%. So you can never be a loser in Krishna consciousness. But in the material world, you can be a loser very easily, because everything you do will be illusory. So you end up with nothing. Yeah, oftentimes great scientists and philosophers, they write big, big books. But in the end, they realize they just wasted their time, because somebody else wrote a longer, bigger book than them. So their book becomes obsolete. And then the other so-called speculator takes over. So you have all these books. I mean, if you look, I went once to the Indian library, yeah.
Consulate library.
Yeah. And I looked, and there were all these big books like that, and it was thick like that. The one is this type of yoga, that type of yoga, and things like that. And this is before I was a devotee, and I looked at all those big books, different types of philosophies. And I just put a big X on India. I said, I'm not even going to waste my time reading all those books. Because one book will say one thing, another book will say something else, and there's no guru involved. You're just reading, right? So it's just a waste of time. You're not going to understand anything. Yeah.
Like Maharaj, you said in the Vaishnava culture, education happens little by little, and sometimes it might take lifetimes also. Does that mean nobody can be educated and become a pure devotee in one lifetime?
No,
Okay.
no, that's it. You see, education means you surrender. You can surrender in a second, and that makes you a devotee. Or you could take, many lifetimes to surrender. So the whole idea is to surrender to a bona fide spiritual master or masters. Then the whole process becomes revealed. Revealed how? Revealed by how much you surrender. If you surrender 1%, then you understand 1%. If you surrender 50%, you under 50%. If you don't surrender at all, you get nothing. So it's all about how much we surrender. And how do you surrender? It's by regulated devotional service. So little by little, we develop knowledge by the process of surrendering to the Lord and to the Guru or gurus. More than one guru. These are instructing gurus. Right? So that's the process of Krishna consciousness, is to surrender to bona fide gurus and be educated based on shastric evidence, not based on what do you think this means. You don't want to go and get a lot of opinions. You want to go and get the truth. So that's what Bhagavatam is. It's the truth. Right? Especially when it says here, in this age of Kali Yuga, everyone is a Sudra. Because the whole population of the world consists only of Sudras, there is a decline of spiritual knowledge, and people are unhappy. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started especially to create qualified brahmanas to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world, for thus people may become very happy. Okay, so chant Hare Krishna and become happy. Yeah. You see how Prabhupada makes things very simple. Simply by academic qualifications, a Sudra cannot understand the transcendental science. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the educational system is geared to produce Sudras. A big technologist is no more than a big Sudra. Whoa, it's a big statement. Because the whole population of the world consists only of Sudras, there's a decline of spiritual knowledge. And people are unhappy. Are you happy? So some people will say, yeah, I'm very happy. Other people say, no, I'm not happy. Because the whole population of the world consists of Sudras, there's a decline of spiritual knowledge and the people are unhappy. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started especially to create qualified brahmanas to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world, for thus people may become very happy. See, that is the litmus test. Are you happy chanting Hare Krishna?
Mm.
Are you happy waking up early in the morning and coming to the temple and engaging in devotional activities? Are you happy doing these things? If someone says, no, I'm not happy, well, that means they're still engaged in illicit activities. You have to be happy. If you're engaging in Krishna consciousness sincerely, you have to be happy, right? But if someone says, well, I've been chanting for 10 years, I'm not happy. Well, that means that for 10 years, they've been breaking some principles of Krishna consciousness. But if you follow all the principles of Krishna consciousness, you're obliged to be happy. So you see, that's why we say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Simply by academic qualifications, a Sudra cannot understand the transcendental science. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the educational system is geared to produce Sudras. Whoa, you see? Prabhupada really, this is like socket to me, Prabhupada. A big technologist is no more than a big Sudra. Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone is a Sudra because the whole population of the world consists only of Sudras. There's a decline in spiritual knowledge and people are unhappy. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started, especially to create qualified brahmanas to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world, for thus people may become very happy. Haribol. Okay, well, Prabhupada said, yes, I have come to America to make the hippies happies. Yes, you become happy, that means that you have knowledge. You understand what you're meant to do in life. So therefore you're happy. We're meant all to become nice devotees and engage in devotional service. Just like yesterday, everybody was happy. We were chanting, we were dancing. It was sunny, right? And we were walking around chanting. Everybody was hearing, and we were giving out prasadam. Are you happy? Yes. Were the people happy who got a burrito? Yes. So you see, that's what Krishna consciousness is all about. Okay, thank you very much, my dear devotees. And today, be happy. Chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram.